Once upon a time in a bustling city filled with skyscrapers that kissed the clouds and neon lights that kept the nights alive, there was a man named Adrian Cross, a name everyone in the corporate world knew as the symbol of success, power, and wealth. Yet if you looked closer, behind his sharp-tailored suits and his luxurious cars, behind his glass-walled office perched on the top floor of one of the tallest buildings in town, you would see something no one else cared to notice, an emptiness in his eyes, a silence in his soul, a loneliness that not even billions could cure. Adrian was a CEO who had conquered markets, crushed competitors, built an empire brick by brick with ruthless determination, but in the process, he had lost people, love, and warmth, and though he sat every evening in the grand penthouse of his high-rise staring at a skyline millions admired, his heart often longed for something simple, something pure, something real. And it was on one quiet autumn afternoon when the golden leaves danced in the air and the city park glowed under the fading sunlight that fate decided to give Adrian a glimpse of what he had been missing, for he had stepped out of his office unusually early that day, feeling an ache in his chest, not of sickness but of solitude, and he found himself drawn to the nearby park bench where laughter of children and chatter of families filled the air, where life seemed softer, freer, unlike the stiff boardrooms he was used to. So he sat down, adjusting his dark coat, his hands folded, his gaze distant, pretending to watch the leaves fall but really watching the happy faces he wished he could understand, and that was when a little girl, no more than 8 years old, in a bright yellow dress with 2 messy braids and the kind of innocent smile that could melt stone, came running toward the bench chasing a paper plane, her laughter filling the space like music, and when her plane landed right at Adrian's shoes, she stopped, looked up at him with curious eyes, and said something so simple yet so powerful that his entire world shifted. "You can be in our family if you want," she said with a soft giggle, as if it was the most natural offer in the world, as if inviting a lonely billionaire into her little circle of love was as easy as sharing candy, and for the first time in years, Adrian didn't know what to say. His lips parted but no words came, because this child, this stranger, had unknowingly touched the deepest wound in his life, the wound of being alone despite having everything, the wound of longing for family, of missing dinners at a table filled with warmth instead of contracts, of missing laughter that wasn't bought but given freely, and so he simply smiled weakly, his throat tightening, as the girl's mother approached, apologizing for her daughter's boldness, but Adrian, with an uncharacteristic gentleness, shook his head and said it was quite all right, and he even handed the little plane back to her, asking her name. And she said, "Lily," her eyes sparkling with mischief and kindness, and in that moment, Adrian felt something stir inside him, something that had been asleep for too long, and as the mother and daughter walked away, Lily turned back and waved, shouting once more, "Don't forget, you can join us if you want." And Adrian chuckled, though his chest ached, because deep down he wished he could, and so began a series of days where fate kept weaving their paths together, for every evening when Adrian stopped by the park after work, Lily and her mother, Emily, seemed to be there too, Emily a single mother working hard to provide, her face kind yet tired, her eyes filled with quiet strength, and Lily always full of joy, always waving at Adrian, sometimes even sitting with him on the bench and telling him stories about her school, about her dreams, about how she wished her mom wouldn't worry so much, and though Adrian rarely spoke, he listened, and for the first time in decades, he felt human again, he felt connected, he felt seen, and gradually Emily began to talk to him too, cautiously at first, but slowly they shared little conversations about weather, about books, about life, until one day Adrian surprised himself by laughing at something Emily said, a laugh so real it startled him, and the people passing by would never have guessed that the man sitting casually on that old wooden bench, listening to a little girl's chatter and a woman's gentle words, was the same feared CEO known for his ruthless strategies, because here, on this bench, he was not Adrian the powerful businessman, he was just a lonely man finding fragments of family in a park, and the more he visited, the more he longed for it, until one evening when Lily, with her usual straightforwardness, asked him why he always sat alone, why he had no one waiting for him at home, and Adrian, after a long pause, whispered the truth, that somewhere along the way, he lost the people who mattered, and now all he had was work, and Lily frowned, shook her head, and said firmly, "That's silly, everyone needs family, so now you're ours, okay." And Adrian felt tears prick his eyes, but he swallowed them down, nodding, unable to refuse such innocence, and little did he know, this small bond was about to change his entire destiny, for Emily too began to see a side of him no one else did, a kindness he had buried under his empire, a loneliness she recognized, and as days turned to weeks, Adrian found himself lingering at the park longer, walking Lily home, even helping Emily carry groceries, and the city that once felt like a cage began to feel alive again, filled with color and sound, All because a child invited him to belong, and though he never admitted it out loud, Adrian knew something powerful was happening inside him, something that no boardroom victory had ever given him, the taste of family, of home, of love, and as the first snow of winter fell, Adrian realized his life would never be the same again. Because the words of that little girl on that autumn afternoon had planted a seed in his heart, one that was now blooming into hope. And viewers, if you're touched by this story so far, don't forget to subscribe, because Chapter 2 will reveal how this bond tested by life, by secrets, by struggles, would transform not just Adrian's life, but also Emily and Lily's, in ways that will leave you speechless.